head, slowing down and making no time. I gotta keep it rolling. Those in the windshield wipers slapping out the tempo, playing perfect rhythm with the song on the radio. I gotta keep it rolling.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Rideshare Rodeo Podcast, a weekly podcast breaking down all gig news. Episode number 384. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? What's up, audio listeners? How are you guys all doing? We have some stories here for today. Let's see how close to either just under the hour or just over the hour we get with going with them. As you know, the Tuesday podcast tries to be, on all of them, I try to be close to the hour, on a couple a little longer, but this one is the target of an hour. Before I get going today, I'm still a little hoarse with my voice, but I'm going to do my best to get through it. I've been only talking to do what I need to talk, because I found that outside of that, it was bringing me back down strained. So basically podcasts, some other things, some work calls, things of that nature. Other than that, I'm kind of letting my voice have a rest, which has been interesting and leaves me to my own thoughts sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, guys, we have some stories to talk about for sure. I do want to hit on one thing first. Again, anything that I plug to you guys, you know that I endorse, you know that I believe in, you know that I've done my research, and they're a good company. They're things worth looking into. I've had a lot of you guys reaching out to me a lot recently too about insurance, and there's there's so many different types of insurance you could need. Are you needing commercial and full commercial insurance? Do you have a box truck or a cargo van? Are you needing to, because not everybody needs to go down the same path, but we all need to make sure that we have insurance. A, just have insurance, but B, is it the best insurance? And C, I think a lot of the people who are reaching out to me right now, it's not so much even about, hey, what's the right insurance for this or the wrong? Because if you guys remember, there was Buckle, there was Stable. Buckle was in like 6 states. Stable was in just in Illinois. And they both went under, and they were both gig worker insurance. Well, there's a new one. And it's not new. They've been around for over 10 years doing motorcycle, and for the past like 4 or 5 years, drones. But for the last couple of years, they've been doing rideshare, and they've brought in Uber, Lyft, and they brought in Uber Eats too. They are working, I think, on bringing in some other things too. However, it's like an a la carte type thing. So here's my thing, is that it also covers your personal. This would be a full insurance switch. This is not gap insurance. This is straight up. You need to check it out. In the description of the whatever audio podcast player you're listening on, in the description of this episode, there will be a link to Voom Insurance, and as well as any other platforms you might be watching this on, there will be a link to Voom Insurance in the description. Make sure you guys click it. It takes 5 minutes to get an auto quote, and they're pretty aggressively priced. Now I think they're in 16 states right now. So I want everybody to go there, click the link in the description, go there. And if they're not in your state yet, make sure there's a way to say that you're interested in I think all you enter is your email. And again, I've had them on the podcast before. They don't share your information. And yeah, I mean, we checked, they don't. They're an insurance company. They really don't want to, they want to get you to come look into them. If they're not in your state yet, though, drop a line, because they want to know who's interested in what areas. But if they are in your state, if you're in one of the 16 states, I want to see how you guys, what your quote ends up being, because here's what I think might notice is that you're going to save money with them regardless, just to switch your insurance from whoever you're with to them. And they're good. I mean, the reviews on them are good. The company has a good standing. It's been around for a long time. And by the way, if you're wondering, if you own a motorcycle, that's how they got started. They absolutely can probably save you 60% of what you spend on your motorcycle, whether it's a full-time motorcycle or it comes out seasonally or it's a weekend fun thing. If you own one, they can save you up to 60%. It's usually pretty close. They also put that on there for your vehicle. So go check it out. I want everybody, because everybody's been asking me. So it's VOOM Insurance in the description. You guys can check out the link. I want you guys to go give them a try. Or at least go get a bid. Then you don't have to switch to them or anything, but go get a bid. It might like open up your eyes a little bit and say, wait a minute, maybe my insurance isn't that great priced. But they do some things with a la carte, and you'll see if you get a great quote and you want to pull the trigger on it, make sure you look through the site a little bit and you'll see what the perks are and why you're saving some money. It's pretty straightforward. But let's first talk about this last Thursday night in Massachusetts. The new minimum wage kicked off for Uber and Lyft drivers. I have had so many people contacting me, so I'm going to read an article from KGBH, and it's more. I'm bringing up this article because this is how most of them read, but this one has all the details there. But in the opinion part, man, it's definitely moving away from what anybody I know wants. So, for years, some drivers for rideshare apps like Uber and Lyft have been fighting hard behind the scenes for better pay and treatment. This week brings a major shift. Rideshare drivers are now guaranteed a minimum wage of $32.50 an hour plus benefits and a new appeals process for deactivations. Now, before I go any further, I always can tell something by the article, not just only how in depth the reporter went, but which way this might lean a little bit, because if they put $32.50 an hour and then throughout the article don't say that that's active time, they're deceiving you, because $32.50 is active time. That is the minimum wage rule or law that went into effect in Massachusetts. It's not just turn on the app and be on there and you're being paid. That is not how it works. And as I had screenshots sent to me from Saturday night. It went into effect Thursday. On Saturday, I saw Ron Go Gig It. I'm gonna give him a shout out. He posted one on his community post. I had a few emails from people that I know in Boston area. I talked to one person that I know very well who's been on the podcast many times. You guys might know who I'm talking about. But all Boston people who are like, no, dude, already it's night 2. It sucks. And this was night 2. In most of these states, they have a little intro period, but here they're saying that the Massachusetts Attorney General's office settled a 4-year lawsuit. Just so you guys are aware, Maura Healey, the Attorney General, and Andrea, I can't remember her last name. I'm drawing a blank. Who's the mayor? They're both on the same page about this, and they're very much union oriented. But they're saying they finally got a 4-year thing settled. No, that's because it's a voting year for them. This settlement does not meet any of their criteria nor any of what Uber or Lyft wanted. So it's a meet in the middle, but it's kind of a joke. But we're going to go through it because there's something happened big here that is just I kind of already feel like I know what's going to happen. I'll put it out there after we talk about it. But I want to see what you guys think too. So along the way, be taking this in and email me, steve@ridesharerodeo.com. You guys know I love this from the audio podcast and from wherever you're watching this. Email me. I'd love to get the emails, and I want to start doing a thing where I'm going to bring on some emails every week. Maybe like 1 or 2 to start. Maybe in the beginning or middle of the podcast. I don't know. I won't say anybody's name. And I won't say what market you're in or anything that might give away anything. I will just read some of the great emails that I get that are asking questions that need to be answered, or questions that you might have that others have had where when I answer them, they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. So maybe I'm going to try and start doing that. So I want you guys to definitely be emailing me. I love it when you guys email. It gives me a real chance to absorb it too. And I know it gives you guys a better chance than writing on YouTube or in comment fields from a phone, and you can actually get down your point. Now, if you want to make a quick comment on a video or even on a podcast player, I do try and catch all those that I can. And I respond to all of them. So, but we all know that sitting down, putting an email together, if you have some ideas, I'd love to hear them. But so the agreement holds Uber and Lyft accountable and provides their drivers for the first time in Massachusetts guaranteed minimum wage, paid sick leave, occupational accident insurance, and healthcare stipends. So what is it? Sounds exactly like Prop 22, right? I mean, this is exactly what Prop 22 offers you. And Prop 22 itself is also active time. Again, notice no active time. They're not talking about that. So to me, almost already, this is almost an advertisement for why you should go quit your job and start driving for Uber and Lyft, because they're paying $32.50 an hour. No, they're not. They're paying $32.50 an active hour. And trust me, I know enough Boston drivers where the saturation level is so ridiculous that there's not going to be as many rides as you guys once had. I think most of the drivers in Boston already understand that, you know, as this has been going along for the years, that's been their concern because they understand that. It's the people who see this as like a billboard, like $32.50 an hour to be an Uber Lyft driver. Well, I'll just go do that. First of all, you got to be a hustler. Second of all, you have to have, a tremendous amount of patience and a lot of experience in service industry and all of that. And the patience part is going to be the main one. If anybody wants to onboard now in Boston, they might give you a short honeymoon period, but I guarantee you will be up against some real hustlers who really know where to be, what the game is, everything here very soon. And you won't be in the honeymoon period anymore. So I would wait. If you're getting like grabbed by this, I would wait for this to play out a little bit, because it won't play out how anybody thinks. So let's go on a little more. And it was Andrea Campbell. She's the attorney general. Oh, Maura Healey has gone on to be the governor. Sorry about that. I didn't mean mayor. Hopefully that corrects everything there. The other benefits like healthcare plans for some drivers and sick time accrual will kick in over the next several months. Drivers who spoke with GBH News see the settlement as a win, but still far from what's needed. Okay, it's first of all, I got to intervene here. And yes, my opinion, but the opinion of every single driver I've talked to in Boston too. My opinion and 95% of the people who I even see on social media's opinion is this is horrible. So, and they're smart enough to see, because we've seen in other states, this isn't going to help. So, so this is somebody saying that this is a quote from a driver in the Boston area. I did not see a difference at all. If anything, it looked the same as before. He's talking about Thursday night when it launched. Of course, you didn't see anything different. Wait till they implement it, because right now they have to figure out how many. Because when Ron Go Gig It, I will tell you guys, go check out his community post, because that way, if you're listening on the audio podcast, go to YouTube and find Go Gig It. And go look at his community post from Sunday morning. And he posts 1:30 a.m. on Saturday night in Boston. The entire city's gray. Now, if he sends me the one from the week before, it's all red, the entire city. So what happens is they are limiting the amount of vehicles that can be on the platform. The wait times are already up for customers, and they will go way up. The point behind Uber and Lyft is the reason that they want the oversaturation to the 900th degree that we all hate is because they want you to be picked up within 2 minutes of anybody wanting a ride. So if the wait time has now become 15, 20 minutes, and it's going to go to like 40, 50 minutes, and what they're trying to do is get you to go, well, I'll just get an Uber Black then and pay twice as much. They're trying to literally just milk the system. So this is so the guy who also was saying this, his last name's Klott, that's all I'll say because it's in the article, believes unionization is the next step towards earning a higher wage, especially because he does not feel heard by Uber's corporate employees. Okay, guys, you know where I stand, but I need to know where you all stand. So please, this is a perfect time to email me. Email me on this because I am curious. I haven't done this in a while because I'm pretty sure we're all on the same page. I don't know anybody. Nobody. I mean, I used to have contact with a couple out in California that were with some very extremist groups. I've had one or two on the podcast even who believe that there's no other system for this than unions. I don't believe that. This was set up to be an independent contractor job. You make this a union or gig, you make this a union W-2 job, you just broke it. And I don't even know how many of the few people who want that would even stick with these companies. I feel like a lot of people are just not having luck with it. So they're like, well, screw this. We need to be unions. But really, I don't even know if it's more like, like almost pretend. Like, because why would I feel like those are the people who are dropping the grenade in it anyway and saying Uber Lyft sucks. We want to be union. But I feel like if it became union tomorrow, those people don't really even want to be part of Uber or Lyft. Because really, they hate the company so much. And they all have stories like these about how, well, at my last job, I was a union employee. It was awesome. Well, then why aren't you at your last job? That's my question. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, if you want a union job, there is the most union president we've ever had in the United States, pro-union, right now. Now, I know we all have our opinions on what's going on in the political realm and what's going on with that president. But hopefully he's medically okay. But honestly, like, this is the time. If you want a union job, they're out there. Go get one. Don't force this platform to become a union platform and a W-2 thing. But so now on the Massachusetts ballot in November, what happened here was that Uber and Lyft had these proposals ready, and the state had all these proposals ready, and there were going to be like 5 or 6, and it was going to be really messy on how to vote for all of this. The agreement that they made was $32.50 an hour for active time, some health stipend, all that kind of stuff like Prop 22. But the other part of it was that all the ballots from both sides, the corporations and Maura Healey and Campbell, that all of them go away, that they're not, Lyft won't put any on. You guys don't put any on. This is the agreement. They made an agreement. Well, guess what? Now both Healey and what's her name again? Andrea Campbell are supporting a Massachusetts ballot in November that will ask the voters if they support the right for rideshare drivers to form a union. An initiative that driver we were talking about supports. Drivers who back the ballot question are optimistic it'll be approved so representatives can directly advocate for them. This is the problem, guys. They wanted sick pay, $32.50 an active hour. This. They wanted 10 things, right? Uber, Lyft got them and said, okay, we're not stoked, but we'll do this. We'll show you how it works when we do this. But they also, Uber and Lyft had an ask. No organizing. So you guys want these 10 things. Okay, we'll sign off on that. But you have to sign off on this. No organizing. And now Andrea Campbell, who agreed to that, is saying, well, we're actually going to put a ballot on about organizing. So this is what I was saying. If you guys pay attention, like what do you think happens from here? Because I know what I think happens. So I'll let you pause for a second. Let's see if we sync up. Okay. But so here's my thought, guys. If this ballot question hits the November ballot, because all of us were wondering, why isn't this going to be it's almost like we wonder every time. Why wasn't Minnesota? Where is the first state going to be where they, like California said, we'll just leave. You guys can screw off. We'll just leave. This would be that, I believe. I believe if this hits the November ballot, Uber and Lyft might let it get voted on in the hopes that it doesn't pass. But if it passes, the agreement was that they wouldn't even put this on the ballot. So if it passes, bye-bye rideshare, or at least as you know it in Massachusetts. I mean, we already know in New York City, rideshare drivers are down, maybe 50. Let's be nice and say 50% of them don't have any scheduled blocks they can find and have no way of earning on the platform. So you've lost half your drivers. Delivery space is just getting destroyed in New York City right now. I mean, maybe 30% of who was, let's pick on DoorDash. It's always my favorite to pick on. DoorDash is like down to like 30% of the people who are active on the platform can even get blocks. And there's no more walking. New York City walking deliveries is kind of a popular thing. There's no more walking. You can't do any of that. But I'll tell you what, if this goes on the Massachusetts ballot and the state votes that yes, they should be able to unionize, what are you going to unionize against when they leave? Because I don't see how anybody's that confused where you'd think, okay, so the state wanted these 10 things and Uber and Lyft agreed. Uber and Lyft said the only part is you guys can't organize. Okay. Well, you think that if you put that on a ballot and people vote it through, that they're just going to go, well, we'll deal with it? They're already ready to make a move. I don't know what that move will be. It might not be an instant leave. It might be another city fee. Maybe because they already are tacking on one. Maybe they'll tack on another one, a $10 because you broke your agreement fee. I mean, they'll call it what they want, but they're doing this in Seattle. And we'll get to that in a moment too. But I mean, if there's, if they put $10 line item on every ride saying this is because they unionized, and the state guaranteed us that they can make things look really bad. So both sides are making things look really bad right now. But so the person here that was talking in this article, and again, they don't even talk about talking to too many other people, but this one person, she says, here's her hope. She says she hopes to average $40 an hour with Lyft by taking every ride she can, but continues herself stuck at 32 an hour instead. Now that's right now. Now I know it went into effect last Thursday, but she's talking about the last few years. She's found herself stuck at 32. So you guys got a guaranteed 32. Guess what? You just signed up for floor meets ceiling, and that's a fact. Now the opportunity to earn and hustle and work the tougher shifts, they're gone. Like what's the incentive? There is no incentive. You now just work the easier shifts, stay active, drive slower, take different routes, all the things that we've seen everywhere else. It'll be abused, but you're also going to have a big slowdown of people who want to drive in the evenings and who want to drive the tougher shifts. Because why would you? You don't work tougher shifts for this. If you do, it's usually to get more pay or something. You don't do it just because you feel like doing a favor for the company. But okay, I want to roll this story real quick, and then quick pause before we jump into the next one. So I know that we talk about some world news here. We're going to talk about Kenya right now, and it's kind of important you guys listen, no matter what you're doing, even if it's delivery, if it's rideshare, whatever it is. So Kenya is going through some real stuff right now with the Uber algorithm. And there's a person, Judith, I won't use her last name, but in this article, she is talking about in 8 years of working as a driver, she has never seen business this bad. A bruising price war between the companies Uber, Bolt, Little, and Faras. Those are the 4 rideshare companies in Kenya: Uber, Bolt, Little, and Faras. The drivers' fares are down to a level that many drivers say is unsustainable, forcing them to set their own higher rates. So here's what's happening. So Judith says here, this is a quote: "Most of us have these cars on loan, and the cost of living has risen. I try to convince the customers to agree to higher rates. If they can't pay, we cancel and let them find another driver." She then goes on to say that half of the passengers that she pitches this to agree. And then the other ones are just left. So after waiting there for your ride shows up. And I mean, you can imagine that you're waiting in Kenya, let's say at the airport, you're just getting there, you're waiting, and you lock down a fee in Uber. You've been other places in the world, and you lock down a fee, and the driver shows up, and now the driver says, yeah, it's that, plus I want this, and they're going to add on to that. because there's a different thing going on in the United States about let's get our own private rides, which I'm all for, because you're independent contractors. If you've been doing rideshare for a while, you should be getting your own rides. Just make sure you look into it, and make sure that you have a good understanding of what you are getting into. But and I don't mean that scary. If you guys have any questions, email me, Steve@Rideshare Rodeo. But so basically, they're renegotiating the price, and Uber's not even really doing anything about it. Uber just says that, I mean, they're not even saying how they're deactivating all these people there. They have such a need for these drivers there. They're saying that they just kind of, here's what they've done so far. They put out an email that said drivers who are doing this in Kenya are breaking the guidelines. So please don't do this. That's kind of how it read. So nobody's even getting in trouble. Here in the United States, like, people are trying to like pick up their own their own private clients, and that totally makes sense. But this is a different way. This is a different country and a different way of protesting. And I gotta say, it's, from my perspective, it's pretty powerful. Because it sucks. Because this reminds me of the old days of the taxis. And a lot of you people might not remember this, but like taxis during like right now is the DNC in Chicago, right? I saw an article yesterday about how if you're attending the DNC, how to avoid being triple upcharged by taxi drivers. And that's something that's always kind of been stood there. So like when something big is happening, taxi drivers have been known in the past to set their own surge rates, whether it just be on the spot in their head or some kind of, on paper algorithm that they have, a percentage base, who knows what it is, but they know how to play that. And I don't even feel like all the time it's the worst thing. I mean, obviously just kind of making up prices is sketchy. It sounds weird, but haven't done rideshare as much as I have, like, going to an event to pick up somebody, finding them, getting them in the car, getting back out of there when all their security is going on, you're adding a lot of time to a ride. And Uber never takes that into account. So, I mean, if these guys are now saying, well, we can't make our car payments, we're just gonna do this. I'm not saying that that's a way that I'm into. I don't think, like, if you did that here in the United States, I think we'd see a bunch of deactivations. I don't know what they do, honestly, because we're a different community, and the way we're going about it's different. But I guess what I'm pointing out is what we're seeing is a very similar story. We want more pay. Yeah, well, everybody wants more pay. Inflation's through the roof. Times are tough on everybody. I don't know anybody who for a second believes we are not in a recession. Because it's a political year, it's definitely being sold to us as we're not in a recession. Yeah. But I mean, I know people who are forecasting economic trends, and I speak to them on a weekly basis, and they're saying that, well, we're already in the recession, and I've known this, and they have been for a while. The inflation's through the roof. They're lying about it, they're playing with the numbers a little bit, and there's a way that they can do that. But they're saying recession, near the recession, we're in the recession. We could potentially see a depression. Now, I'm not quite there yet, but these are people who study this. So whether you might get somebody who says absolutely not, you might get somebody who says absolutely yes, but they're both worth listening to, because I've heard some people who say that we're near that, saying how it could come so quickly and in so many different forms. I mean, I know that most of you have probably heard about another housing crash that could potentially happen. That is very much being overlooked by a lot of people right now, because that is a very real thing, unless the economy starts to turn around, and very quickly. By the way, these fake job reports, I think that I talked about them once before, but just so you guys know, yes, I've done a lot of research into them. What it is when the jobs reports come out and say, oh yeah, there's this many new jobs posted. Well, a lot of those companies have what they call ghost or phantom posting, meaning they are posting to say, hey, we need this, and this filled at the company. We have these positions, come in and apply. But really, they already have people in those positions, and they're not even looking to hire anybody. They're just trying to help the market a bit and kind of maybe get some backups, or maybe put you into a lesser job if you come in and they really like you. But it's there's a word for it that I'm missing, but it's actually a thing. Companies do this often, and they do it even more often during hard times. And that's the worst time that anybody would ever want to deal with that, right? I mean, I wouldn't. Real quick, guys, display ride. Look, if you don't have display ride yet, or haven't at least even looked into it, check into it. Displayride.com. Put in code rodeo on the if you look at it and you want to get in on this. I've had display ride for almost 3 years. If you want a display ride camera in your car, put in rodeo at the end, and instead of the monthly service fee is cut in half. So, it's something. But it is definitely a service worth having. There is a lot of, I don't know about y'all, but my city, things are crazy and driving has gotten out of control. Yeah, and it's different too. It's not just the same old. And the other part of that, and they kind of work hand in glove together, is legal rideshare. You guys ever hurt at all doing any gig work, anything? Reach legal rideshare. You can reach out to them. This is their information right here. help@legalrideshare.com. And it's area code 312-767-7950. You get a free consultation. They'll take care of you over there. So moving forward a little bit, let's see okay, we got a Lyft and then a DoorDash story. Let's see, let's go with these. So here's one is it from today or is it from yesterday? So Lyft customer jumps out of moving car, says driver was trying to kidnap her. So a Lyft passenger alleges that her driver tried to kidnap her, leading her to jump from the moving car and sustained a bunch of injuries and a very high medical bill. The person's name is Dre. I'm not going to mention her last name. It's a female. She says, yesterday I almost died jumping out of a moving Lyft because the driver was trying to kidnap me. Dre says she was catching a 30-minute Lyft ride from Yale University's campus in New Haven, Connecticut, to her workplace at the Clinton outlets, and was ecstatic when she saw she was assigned a female driver. A suspicious phone call comes in during the ride. When the driver pulled up, she says there were no red flags. The picture, license plate, and car model all matched the app's description. However, 10 minutes before the exit towards Dre's workplace, she says that the Lyft driver got a phone call with a man and started speaking in a foreign language. At first, this is her quote. This is Dre's quote. At first, I didn't think anything of it, she says, but she said something in English, dark skin, red sweater. Dre immediately recognized that the driver was giving her description to the man on the phone. I don't know why, like, the sweater would have mattered, but okay. She says the woman hung up the phone, ended the ride. So now again, they're on the highway. They're about to get off at her exit. It's a 30-minute ride. She's got the female driver. So the woman hangs up the phone, who's driving, ends the ride on the Lyft app, and was exiting the highway and then jumped right back on it. So she was exiting and ended it and then got back on it. Almost so like the GPS would think she exited. And then got back on the highway. So then Dre at this point says, I asked her, what are you doing? She told me to shut up. She didn't have to tell me nothing else. Dre says within 30 seconds of that interaction, she jumped out on the highway from the Lyft, fearing that she was being sex trafficked. It hurt so bad, I thought I was going to die, she said. It felt like I was in a movie. I kept replaying the scenario in my head. $16,000 in medical bills, and she's still in there. I'm curious what you guys think of this. Obviously, there will be a lot more to this story. Let me see what I've got here for stats, though. And again, this is a contact a lawyer. So again, obviously you got bigger things on your plate, but Legal Rideshare is there to kind of always give you that free consultation. But this is not the first time Lyft has been at the center of a controversy surrounding the safety of riders. Between 2017 and 2019, Lyft reported 4,000 assault cases. In 2019, 19 women filed a lawsuit against the company, claiming that Lyft did not take their reports seriously or have adequate safety measures in place. So all the viewers are clearly saying, oh my God, like sue them. And we will see what comes of this. But I'm curious what you guys think. So if you're watching if you're watching this live, if you're listening live, if you're whatever on a platform, again, leave those comments or email me, steve@ridesharerodeo.com. If you want to keep it that way, that's fine too. But yeah, I mean, these are ridiculous statistics, and we're going to have a little bit more at the end here. But I just want to know what you guys think, because this is now, we've had a few people jump out of we've had more people jump out of moving ride shares, at least that I've seen in the news. And I've been running Uber Lyft drivers website, posting daily news since 2017. So I do this all the time, and I've seen more articles about people jumping out of ride shares this year alone that's only half over than any other year by far, just already to date. And some of them have been Uber teen rides, Uber teens jumping out. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. This system, like over in Europe, you guys, we've talked about this before, so I won't get into it because there's enough episodes I've done this on. But over in Europe, they have a system that works much better. They don't really have this as much as we do. And I'm just very confused why we don't just, I'm not saying we have to copy what they've done, but why don't we try it? I mean, they've got RF readers around their neck so that you're at the right car. That person actually has an RF tied to them and their account. So therefore, nobody else could be using the car. I don't know. I feel like there's some real better safety metrics we could be putting in place, and they just don't here. And I'm really confused. I mean, I know why. It's in the end, and we all know this, it's for the business. They want more money. We know this. And how do we know this for certain? I mean, all of us just know it. But how do we know it for certain? Because forever it was no unaccompanied minors. Now they have Uber Teen. They're encouraging it. So that's just for money. They don't care about the safety of the passengers. That's become clear to us over the years. And it just is what it is. I mean, there's nothing more to be said about it. Now we're going to move over to Seattle's pay up gig legislation. DoorDash has spent over $1 million in this calendar year to fight Seattle's minimum wage law. Okay, so DoorDash has spent more than $1 million since January lobbying to repeal Seattle's minimum wage law for app-based delivery drivers, according to the city records. The minimum wage ordinance has been a topic of intense debate since it took effect in January, with DoorDash and Uber Eats responding with new fees that some restaurants and drivers say have caused them to lose business. A lot of it, business, by the way. I have talked about it before, and I have a bunch of articles up on the website. You can also go to ridesharerodeo.com, and up there it says gig news, or from a mobile, there's the drop-down menu, gig news. That'll take you to uberlyftdrivers.com. So Rideshare Rodeo is the hub of it all. But yeah, you can get over to the news site on there too. And I've done a lot of this, and an effort to scale back the minimum wage legislation was set to come before the city council in May. So the city council put this together, put it into action. There are a lot. So now you've got the drivers. Some drivers say they're doing okay with it. Most drivers hate it. A lot of drivers are having trouble getting any of the volume of business they used to have. You have the customers being passed on the fees. They have passed on a $5 city fee, and now a $1.99 long delivery fee for anything over 5 miles. So that's just $7 that they're showing in line items, plus all the other raises. The restaurants have lost. I mean, DoorDash is down like 40 plus million this year to date versus last year, which also has meant the restaurants which DoorDash delivers for are doing horrible this year. So the city of Seattle is being attacked by the drivers, the customers of the platforms, and now the one they should care about everybody, but the one the city council should care about the most, the restaurants, the businesses actually making the food. I mean, it's one thing if just Lyft and or all the delivery apps are mad at you. Okay, we can deal with that. Drivers aren't happy. Okay, we're used to that. They're passing along some BS customer fees. Yeah, well, I guess they can do that because we set a law and they don't like it. And that is a legal way around it. But once you get to the point of you've got your city restaurants losing all these millions of dollars from things that they've now counted on ever since the pandemic. Before the pandemic, they didn't count on it. It was there. But now they count on that. And life has changed a little bit. And so even though people are back out and about, people still like the service. So, but now they can't afford it anymore. So what's happening? I mean, people are, and also what a worse time for all of this, right? I mean, everybody I know is struggling right now. Even if they're not like borderline homeless, they're not living the lifestyle that they're accustomed to. And I mean that is maybe a little above getting by. It's tough to just get by today. But when you can't even get by and you're working and you're working all the time, and if you have a family and all this, that, and the other, and some people say, well, then don't do this as a living. But I have countered that with the W-2 market has been a real travesty. You guys, I need to find an episode where I can have a couple of the people who have written me who have been in the gig space forever, left it, went to W-2 and were back within 5 weeks. Either they got let go because they weren't needed. Again, those fake job reports, and we see them all the time. If you guys don't believe that happens, it happens all the time. But the W-2 place is not the soundest place to go either. I mean, if you have a real career ambition, I'm not trying to rain on your parade, go for it. But that becomes my thing. Outside of learning a trade, if you don't have a real career ambition, what is the W-2 going to do for you? I mean, even fast food is starting to be replaced by robotics. So if you think, well, I can go, McDonald's is hiring for $21. The one by me is. We have a McDonald's hiring for $21 an hour right here. Okay. But out in California, they're already starting to put robotics into those places. So I feel like it's more, hey, let's overpay right now to really keep the company, like a company like McDonald's that can afford it, afloat while we integrate some machinery. Because sooner or later, they're not gonna need the average person to be standing there and working. You might need a couple people on hand, a manager and maybe somebody else, or whatever. But it won't be 20 people that are needed in the restaurant. It will be 3 or 4. So you're gonna be, and that's one location. So you're gonna be taking away jobs everywhere. But again, if you have a W-2 or something you're pursuing, go for it. You have a dream, of course, go for it. You don't need me to do it, but I endorse, I support. I think that's great. But I'm just pointing out the W-2 landscape isn't something that you can go jump back to like they've made it sound like you can. Like, well, we need you back over here and you'll be taken care of. No, you won't. I know tons of people who have gone that way and then come back, and not just because they had a boss and they don't like having a boss, but for a lot of reasons. And they're just done. They're like, this doesn't work. But so a quick catch up, an effort to scale back the minimum wage, but now is on hold. It was supposed to be voted on in May. It's now on hold until the council votes on it. The proposal would have lowered drivers' minimum wage, minimum pay to the citywide minimum of $19.97 per hour. App companies have said the current driver law comes out to $26 an hour. Again, active time. Let's be very specific. Most of these, and by the way, for you people writing articles out there who know this, because I know a few authors who know that this is all based on active time, and they're still in their articles not putting it. To all of you reporters for news outlets that are not putting in active time and even notating what active time means, shame on all of you, because you guys are misrepresenting what this is to everybody, and shame on you big time, because you can go sit in your car for 8 hours, have the app on, and maybe you only get, and this is an extreme case, but maybe you only get 3 hours of active time. I have always said you just worked 8 hours, because even if you're sitting in your car, you're wanting the work. You don't want to just be sitting there. So you just worked 8 hours. You just wasted 8 hours and you made 3 hours of pay. So these minimum wages just are not meant for this. But so here's where we are. Excuse me. Even my voice is going a little bit. So even the other delivery platforms are on board, but DoorDash spent $292,000 on indirect lobbying in just the month of July, such as ad campaigns, phone banking, and consulting services to oppose the driver minimum wage ordinance, according to a report the company filed this month with the Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission. So all told, DoorDash has spent far more than any other group lobbying the city this year. Working Washington, a group that is supporting the driver minimum wage ordinance, spent more than $200,000 on campaign materials, consulting, indirect lobbying per their campaign financing filings. The company started, like I said earlier, the company started charging a $4.99 fee on delivery orders in response to the citywide law, but says it is still losing money in Seattle. After the city council did not amend the law in May as they were supposed to, the company announced it would impose another $1.99 charge on orders with long travel, which is more than 5 miles. So now you have, on top of the exorbitant fees that they raised it when this happened, you have another $7 always going on top of anything that you're ordering more than 5 miles. We remain committed to standing up for Seattle business, Dashers, and consumers, even if the city council won't. You guys, I mean, to me, these minimum wage things, I hope that you guys are, maybe you're resonating like I do with them, because they just don't make sense. They're just, and it's not just, look, I'm trying to make it so it's not just my opinion, but it is my opinion, but I'm trying to make it so that you guys see it too, because most drivers do. They really do base this on a very small percentage that are union types. And we've even wondered how many of these people are, and I'm sure you guys have heard the term like professional, when people are like protesting and stuff, there's like professional protesters that are paid. Well, there's a very big group that believes that a lot of these gig app workers who want to be unions are paid props to be up there. And I got to say, I used to think, no, but I'm starting to think, yeah, because nobody I know wants this. And it always just keeps failing. So, speaking of, here's where we move into the delivery space a little more. So, okay. So Bronx, New York City, falling apart literally in the delivery space. Some Bronx-based delivery workers are speaking out against the city's minimum hourly wage requirement for workers in their industry, which they said had the unintended consequences of drastically reducing their earnings. Several voiced their concerns at a roundtable discussion August 13th, when DoorDash workers, local elected officials, and the Bronx Chamber of Commerce came together at the Residence Inn in Eastchester. Several DoorDash representatives also were in attendance. So there is a guy who's saying that before the minimum wage rule, he was on average earning $1,000 a week. Now says he's lucky to get half that much, meaning he's lucky to make $500 in a week. We're really, really struggling, is his quote, to put the point where he is looking for a regular job. 3 other Dashers, the 4 who were spoken with in this, all said the same thing and all similar experiences. I'm now looking for other work. They've made it so that we can't even get on the app anymore. And it's becoming like the rideshare part, like where you got to schedule. There's the Dash Now is gone. You can't walk. You got to schedule. Nobody can get blocks. Nobody can get enough time to do it. and there's not enough blocks to go around. And if you do get your blocks and you're like, okay, this is my, like a lot of us who schedule around the country, New York City's different. If you schedule a block, you might turn it on right when you need to, and you're supposed to, and it might just say you're not needed tonight. So the scheduled blocks don't even mean anything anymore. But so the Department of Consumer and Worker Protections, the DCWP, put out a study about the potential minimum wage pay rate implications. I looked through it. I think it's just another bogus report. But despite a legal challenge by major delivery apps, Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, the city announced the minimum pay rule April 2024, this year, effective immediately. So it went right into effect. The rule gave all app-based restaurant delivery workers a wage of $19.56 per hour before tips, to be adjusted annually for inflation every April. Again, did you just notice what I just said? $19.56 per hour before tips. Active time. Guys, put it in your articles. You writers know what you're doing. You know that this is going on. There might be a few of you who are not diving in deep enough, but you only have to get into, you're still in the shallow end of looking into this stuff to know that it's active time. So do your job, do your job and put this out correctly, because all of these are active time. But so, they're basically everybody's there. DoorDash obviously doesn't want this. The city does want it. The amount of Dashers who are able to work the platform is they're saying around 40%. I'm guessing less. So they've lost approximately 60% of the amount of people that can get on and actually work. That is partially because the app is limiting it. It's also added a line item like it does in every other city too. Like New York City, stupid fee for trying to make us employees, $9 or whatever they're going to do. But so this isn't working. The Bronx event was a fact-finding session for DoorDash. The head of government relations in New York, the company held a similar event last week in Queens and will go to Manhattan and Brooklyn in the weeks ahead. But the company came with well-established concerns. It said the pay rule had devastating impacts on New York's economy, cutting into small business profits and limiting the earning potential of Dashers. The number of Dashers in the Bronx has dropped by 50% since the minimum wage pay rate took effect. Okay, did you catch that? The number of Dashers is down to half. So while DoorDash blames the city for the loss of revenue, it did not specify whether or not the company increased its fees in response to the rules. They did. I mean, I'm obviously going to be fair because I'm not on the side of these companies. I just think all this legislation is trash. And it's funny that it's all popping up here in this election year, because the outcome of this election really is going to determine how much push in which direction all of these legislations are going to get. Either a hard kick in the butt out, or a more welcoming invite to let's keep them rolling. Let's keep these cities going. But every one of these cities that gets to, nobody's happy. People are not going, I'm stoked about this. It's not working for them. Everything has changed. Dashers at the roundtable said their issue is not only with the minimum pay rate, but also the schedule changes that accompanied it. The workers say that they are now limited in where they can make deliveries at specific times, which has reduced their ability to work. A DCWP spokesperson also told the Bronx that the city did not prescribe changes to how the apps schedule people's time, and those decisions have to be made by the companies. Duh. I mean, of course they do. You're already taking away the freedom to be a company in this country. Like, I am not siding with the apps here, but I am siding with, free market. Like do things that make sense and keep them in line in the free market, but you're trying to really run them in the free market, and you can't do that. But so they're like, well, we can't do anything about that. Well, yeah, but that's not a good answer because you created a huge problem. And that is the excuse that the companies use. And you knew it before you did it. So again, I'm so sick of these like just stupid answers. Like get into the nuts and bolts of this and fix it. So yeah, I mean, you can, yeah, like there's a example here of somebody that originally from Harlem and now living in the Bronx said he used to be able to predict fluctuations in earnings by neighborhood and borough and strategize his time accordingly. He thrived on the independent of choosing when and how much to work, at times bouncing between 9 different delivery apps on his phone. He says, I'm trying to get the money. I'm hustling. Yeah. Okay, there we go. But he believes putting all delivery workers on an equal footing took away from those like him who were making great money without a set minimum wage. I agree with that. That's where I start to get into. If you're not everybody is cut out for the service industry. And that's a fact. I mean, that's a fact, you guys. So, you know, I mean, don't drop the grenade in the system for everybody else. If you don't like it and you want to be in a union, don't demand that this becomes the union. Just go out and get a union job. I don't want one. But that's me. You know, if you want a union job, go get a union job. I'll tell you this, like I'm already so spread thin on everything that my son and I do, even at the grocery store and stuff. I wouldn't have the 15-20% of my earnings to be able to give to a union. And if you guys aren't familiar, unions are not free. They always have their hand in your pocket. And they're always taking money from the companies and from the drivers alike. I know that they all say that they're for the drivers, but really, and there's some examples, of course, but really, what is a union doing for you? In some jobs, sure, but like in this space, what's a union going to do for you? But yeah, I mean, just it keeps going on how people are going to Long Island, to going to New Jersey. They're leaving the boroughs because this new, what was going to solve everything has actually destroyed it. And the customers are not happy either. So talked about this on 13 a bit. This is what's kind of happening around the United States right now. And if you are having some of these issues and you have not checked out the dlivrd catering app yet, check out dlivrd, dlivrd.io. It's not .com, it's .io. Dlivrd.com or dlivrd.io. Because those catering orders can pay a lot. Yeah, you're not going to have 10 in a day. You might only get 1, might get 2, who knows, but they pay way better than these. And one of the topics we're going to talk about next week, because we have hit the hour, I'm losing my voice, but this is a big case and there's no way I could get through this today. But I'm going to give you guys the title of this, and I've already got a couple articles to speak on, and they've like one I'm got right here is August 19th, so that was dropped yesterday. So we'll have more by next week too, but I was ready to talk on this today, but we're going to talk about this next week because it's a big, big, big deal. Judge dismisses some Uber driver sexual assault lawsuit claims under Texas and California law, allowing plaintiffs to file amended complaints. Now, I'll leave you guys thinking on that one because there's a lot of different ways that this can be looked at, but there's a whole lot of facts that we need to go through for you to have a full understanding of why this is happening and what is going on here. So with that said, you guys, until next week, be safe, earn smart, and be good to each other. Thanks for checking out the rodeo, and we'll see you back here next week. Peace.
She was just a baby.